Um, I hope you're having a good day so far. We are recording this meeting so that we can be able to give it to share it out with y'all afterwards or for people who didn't get to come to it. My name is Joy James. Let me get my little spiel for you. I hope y'all are doing well. We're so glad you're here to join us for the Harnessing Nature, Promoting Student Wellbeing and Success at UNC Campuses. Our theme today is collaborative pathways to nature, research and partnerships, programs. And we're excited to explore how nature-based initiatives are transforming our student experiences within the UNC system. I'm speaking to you today on behalf of the Healthy Outdoor Play and Exercise Lab, or the HOPE Lab, and we're thrilled to co-host this with the UNC system for a conversation with practitioners, researchers who are passionate about getting students connected to nature. And before we dive in, I just want to let you know what our agenda is today. If you could, please introduce yourself in the chat by sharing your name, your institution, and your favorite spot to seek nature on your campus. Just as a kind of an introduction. So your name, your institution, and your favorite spot that you seek nature on campus. While y'all are all doing that and reviewing that, what's ahead is we're going to start with two snapshots of programs and partnerships and research. Then we're going to hear from some UNC campus student research directors to kind of give us some guidance or some ideas on resources or ways to connect and being able to help promote research. And then we're going to take a few moments to chat out about what you might be doing at your campus or continue the conversation from the programs that were being presented today. And then finally, we're going to wrap up with kind of a look ahead, what's going to be happening. And just FYI, we are still looking for some speakers about wellness and urban settings and nature on April 8th. So if that's something you might be interested in, I'll talk a little bit more about it when we get going. All right. Let me just check the chat to see where everybody's from, and then we'll get us going. And I'm from App State. My favorite spot is Durham Park. If you've been here, it's just right outside my window. I get lovely trees that I get to go walk by, and I teach in recreation management. Um, all right, in the woods, Lake Raleigh. All right, thank you, Aaron. Um, Serenity Garden. Oh, it sounds wonderful. Library off the steps, Mount Pisgah. Oh, that's great. And then we've got wonderful places, greenways. All right, good. I'm glad to know that y'all all have some nature with you. With that, I'm going to go ahead and move us over to Dr. Dorwart and Walter Munez to talk about their program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so glad you're able to join us today for everyone. I hope it's as beautiful as it is outside my window. So let me go ahead and share my slides. Let me know if for some reason you can't see it. Um, all right. Okay. If I could have someone tell me if they cannot see it. Okay. Otherwise, I am Catherine Dorward. I'm a professor at NC Central University in the Department of Kinesiology and Recreation. And joining me is my colleague. I'll have him introduce himself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Walter Munoz, and I'm a lecturer with the Kinesiology and Recreation Administration Department here at North Carolina Central.
So we're going to talk a little bit about our partnership and two studies that we did focused on Black students' perception of nature-based recreation spaces and the role campus recreation has in supporting students' well-being, which will tie nicely into the shared vision that Joy has been talking about, and how this collaborative partnership also was part of a NERSA-supported study. So we not only had that collaboration together through campus recreation in our academic program, but also was supported by NERSA because one of their pillars is also student well-being and mental health. So it worked really nicely together in supporting everything that we did and also helped their pillar, like I was saying. So the first study that I'm going to talk about and how we really got to the gist of what our Black students were focused on. And for those of you who don't know, hopefully you do, that North Carolina Central is an HBCU. So we focused on the Black students at our campus through a photo elicitation study and survey. Uh, First, for any of you who don't aren't outdoor recreation folks, but as I saw everyone popping up, I know that you are, so I'm preaching to the choir, and all of you know, so I'm not going to dwell into, but um, outdoor recreation, as you all know, is incredibly important for supporting overall well-being of our college students. And I know Joy has been talking about this through her initiative in Harnessing Nature last year about promoting health, social connection, academic success. But for Black students in particular, it focuses on that community and self-efficacy. It does for everyone, but we really wanted to focus on what is it that Black students need to really draw together in that sense of community. And Black male students have the lowest rate of matriculation and retention. And so anything that will help in that aspect is something that we really want to hone in on. So student engagement, outdoor recreation is shown to help with that persistence, development, and achievement. So also, what is the problem? What is the issue? We can't say that uh, there's opportunities and initiatives with campus recreation without ignoring the issues. And one of those main issues is the historical discrimination and segregation of Black Americans throughout history. The latest outdoor participation trend report says that only 9.4% of Black Americans overall participate in outdoor recreation. And Black students still report a lack of representation in programs through their marketing, through peer mentorship, through seeing people like themselves. And still, to this day, we see historical and social barriers reducing comfort and access. Am I blocking the slides or is that for me? Am I moving people around? I don't know what I'm doing here. Sorry, Walter, am I moving people
No,
around?
no, you're good. We can see the whole slide.
Okay, I can't see. I keep moving people around. I don't know if I'm making everyone dizzy, including myself. So, Walter, did you want to chime in with anything, or do you want me to just keep going with my specific study?
You can keep rolling with your end.
Okay, so this and this was something that Walter, Dr. Patterson, who is now at UNC Chapel Hill, and I had worked on, and we realized that we had been doing this since 2015, so the culmination of two different studies. And uh, the conceptual framework that guided this was the Kaplan's information processing framework. And they hypothesized that, it goes back to the environmental perception research, that all of us are going to gravitate towards landscapes and settings where we find comfort, that we feel safe. And so this study was guided by their preference matrix that people are going to look at places through a lens of complexity, coherence, landscapes, that are legible and that have some sort of mystery to them. And that overall, their cultural background is going to influence a sense of comfort and restoration. And so, um, uh, that I just lost my train of thought. And so, this particular study, I ended up administering Qualtrics surveys to 202 students, and I presented them with 15 different natural settings of places within North Carolina, of different settings, of places that Walter or whomever was going to be leading these trips in campus recreation would be easily able to take students. And so it was divided of 5 settings without people. So there was no visible, it was just natural outdoor recreation settings, campsites, 5 of trail settings, and 5 of waterscapes. And they all had elements of the Kaplan's, um, uh, the 4 elements within the preference matrix. So going from very wild to more manicured settings. And so students were able to look at these photographs and then on a Likert scale, talk about whether they preferred them, rank them from that, and then they gave their perceptions of them. How did those settings make them feel in those open ending? And so I won't go through all this. We could talk about those later if you want to, but um, oops. The way it broke out is that the 5 settings with water were the most preferred settings. And so students really gravitated towards those photographs that had water in them. And the way those settings made them feel were a sense of well-being, and they all contributed for the most part. As you can see, there's one that says anxiety and threat perception, but that was very little. The majority of them felt that those photographs gave them a sense of restoration and meaningfulness, and it contributed to their mental health and well-being. And so you can see how that how they broke out, and so these were the themes that emerged from that. Are there any questions about that before I move forward? And we can go back to here are the 3 photographs. The beach, for the most part, this is where the students felt the most resonance. The river was the second most preferred, and the lake was the third most preferred. And you can read some of the quotes. But it really resonated, the calmness, the peacefulness, the tranquility. It's just these really evoke senses of well-being. And for all of you who are practitioners, this probably is not surprising. But what is wonderful is that for those who aren't, students are students. If these trips, if these places are close by within our state and we have limited budgets, it's wonderful that we know, even though this is a qualitative study, I do want to say that, and that these are a certain amount of studies, but this is a place that resonates with them. Okay, Walter's going to talk about the collaborative impact of partnerships.
Yeah, thanks for that. And before I get into the collaborations, I think it's important to give a little context about our outdoor recreation department here at North Carolina Central. So when I began So for context, from 2015 to 2023, I coordinated all of our outdoor recreation events for campus recreation. So when I began in the fall of 2015, the outdoor recreation component of campus recreation was non-existent. So we were building from the ground up. My director at the time, Nicole Piscatelli, who is actually on the webinar today, she had just started in the spring of 2015, but she came with the vision of, offering the same programs, experiences as our neighbor institution. So we were aware of what UNC Chapel Hill was offering in their outdoor recreation program. She was coming from UNCG, so she knew what a robust outdoor recreation program looked like. Again, through NERSA workshops, conferences, we knew what we wanted to offer. But again, limited resources, we didn't have the needs for some of those. So we had to look at those collaborative efforts, those partnerships to, enhance that experience. So here I'm just go through these really quickly. A couple collaborations, Frog Hollow Outdoors. It's a local organization. They guided a lot of our trips, maybe 2 or 3 a semester, from rock climbing, where we're taking students to Pilot Mountain, Hanging Rock, students learning how to belay, stuff they had no idea that they were capable of. Frog Hollow was very integral in shaping our program, even to just providing the education of the area that we had, or just telling us about the wildlife in the area. Friends of the Mountain to Sea. So Mountain to Sea program, they are pretty much, their mission is to get individuals outside on the trail, especially in North Carolina. We hosted their Gathering of Friends event in 2023, but as we worked up to that event, we were able to put together a few workshops with them. One being just a student workshop where we had professionals in outdoor spaces or worked in the outdoor profession just talk to our students about the opportunities out there, whether it's volunteer opportunities or even, job opportunities post graduation. Yonderlust is a outfitter located here in Durham. They were gracious enough to, let us use their camping equipment for our first overnight camping trip. Even before the trip, they put together a camping one-on-one workshop, which pretty much served as our pre-trip meeting for our camping trip. Camping, which I'll talk about on the next slide, was one of the trips that students were really wanting to do and looking forward to. So yeah, and on that last slide, I'll go back real quick, Dr.
Oh,
Dort, sorry.
mhm.
This is the last two. So we had our on-campus collaborations. Obviously, we found out that when we did collaborate with other departments on campus, we were able to target, those pockets of students that we may miss here in the recreation building. So, and it, like I said, it increased our awareness of the program and increased our numbers. And then just collaborating with other universities. One thing I've noticed while working in that outdoor recreation space was everyone was so willing to help, like at other universities. I don't know if they're just aware that we didn't have the funds or the resources, but sometimes they like, hey guys, we're opening this up to you, whether it's UNC Chapel Hill or Duke, giving us access to their rock climbing wall, or UNCG, wanting to do joint efforts on Piney Lake with their students, even Winston-Salem State. So we work together with some other institutions, again, just to enhance and bring that awareness to our outdoor recreation program. So in addition to Dr. Dorwart's research and the surveys that they conducted, we in the campus recreation space did our own surveys and evaluations after each trip. So here we're just looking at some of the responses or feedback that we got. So we quickly realized that for a lot of those trips, this was a first time experience for those students. The unique thing about it was they were getting to experience that, that trip or that activity, this unfamiliar space with their friends. So it was a little more comforting being that they had their friend by their side in this unfamiliar space. So we were intentional when we're trying to get students to sign up, finding groups of 2 or 3, we figured out that they were more willing to sign up if they got their friends to sign up. Some of the And I guess I should have mentioned some of the questions that we asked were, was this your first time at this location? Was this your first time doing that activity? What other trips would you like to see? And we just opened it up to, what are some things you would like to share, or what are some things that you learned about yourself on the trip? But when we looked at the trip suggestions that they wanted to see us offer, and it goes back to Dr. Dort's research on the water-based activities, fishing and deep sea fishing were um, two popular trips that students wanted to see. Before I transitioned in 2023, we didn't get to that activity, but I'm sure they still work on that to make that happen. Overnight camping, which we eventually got to, and kayaking and canoeing, again working with Frog Hollows. We did that maybe once in the fall, once in the spring for the past couple years. And then when we look at the barriers and talking to the students and asking them, why haven't you participated in these, or why haven't you considered doing these? And those were the responses here. Just resources or financial constraints. We, as a department, we offered our trips as a subsidized rate for students. So we would take the cost a lot of, for those students, and where if they went on their own, if they went, whitewater rafting or skiing on their own, we're offering it to them at maybe half the price or a quarter, a fraction of the price that they would pay if they went on their own. And then lastly, it's just the cultural norms. Simply put, students said, you know, where I'm from, my family didn't participate in these activities, or my friends didn't participate in these activities. Even for me, as a young professional at the time, making the flyers, I had to be intentional with putting people on the flyer that looked like our students. It's easy to, find an image of someone who might be white that's skiing or rock climbing, but when you're trying to find someone that's black or brown, you got to refine your search a little bit more. But I did find that students took to that representation when we did add those, just added some representation to those flyers.
To thank you, Walter. That sums up so well what we did as far as the subsidizing the programs too for that second study. NERSA gave us a grant to help students pay for the trips. And as part of that study, we gave them cameras to, as a second photo elicitation study, to take pictures of things that were meaningful to them, their experiences and their perceptions of their trips. And so a lot of these photos here are pictures that they took, and uh, the quotes that they had in one of our last slides is a quote of why she took a picture of her friend kayaking. And so it's it's just so meaningful when Walter says this is the first time they've experienced it, and then one of their suggestions at the end is I want to go deep sea fishing. I just love how impactful what Walter and his colleagues do in campus recreation. And I should have mentioned that that's how I got my start in recreation, was through campus recreation at UNC. Well, at Rutgers as a student, but then in campus recreation as well, which is how I met Nicole as well. So this tie-in is just so integral to exposure for a lot of these students. So how do we how do we put this into practice? Because research is great, but unless we apply it to moving forward, and how is this meaningful? So some suggestions for moving forward for outdoor programs: designing inclusive water-based experiences. The students spoke, they want more water-based programs, not only through Walter's evaluations, but through some of the things that they mentioned on how it makes them feel. So prioritizing trips where programming is near clean, safe, accessible water spaces. Reducing perceived environmental risks. One of the themes, if you notice, was the anxiety and threat that they noticed and felt their preferences and perceptions. So creating structured introductory experiences, guided hikes or walk and talk sessions that demystifies these environments, building on cultural memory. A lot of the students mentioned, it's interesting because Walter noted the fact that he doesn't have, or he didn't notice some of the students talking about the cultural background. A lot of these students did discuss the cultural meaning that these spaces had for them. So leveraging this in programs or incorporating intergenerational memory and cultural pride. So fishing workshops or reflection circles that celebrate shared outdoor experiences. Centering wellness and mental health integration, which is why we're all here today. So marketing programs with a wellness and stress relief lens, appealing to students seeking calm, restorative spaces.
All right, and Dr. James, I know we're running out of time, but here's just a summary of our key points with hopes of guiding our audience on how to apply the information discussed. So, having Black students' perspectives in mind can lead to culturally responsive programming, and simply knowing water-based spaces can serve as sites of emotional relief, cultural memory, and reconnection for our students. And I think that's it, Dr. Dorr.
It is.
Thank you both. It's so exciting to hear what you've done, and I'll hold off questions for after our next presenters, Doctors Richmond Bryant and Dobson.
All right, sounds good. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can share my screen. Okay, 1 second. It's sharing. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Sounds great. All right, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Welcome. I'm really excited. Me and Dr. Richmond Byrne are really excited to share our project, connecting nature to history, students empowered by examples of resilience at a site of stolen labor. So just to give you kind of an introduction of myself, my name is Micah Dobson. I serve as an assistant professor of recreation management at Shaw University, and then I'll let my colleague, Dr. Richmond Byrne, introduce herself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Jen Richmond Bryant. I teach in the Department of Forestry and Environmental Resources at NC State. And we kind of co-mentored students over the summer during the program we're going to be talking about.
All right, so to give you guys kind of an overview of our brief presentation, so we're going to start off talking about NC State's undergraduate research experience, also known as SHORE, and then we're going to get into some cultural awareness and research that we participated in. Then we're going to dive into some goals and objectives of the specific trip we went on with our students. It was at the historic Stagville in Durham, North Carolina. And then we're going to talk about the urban community agronomics, which is abbreviated UCAN. We're going to give you an overview of some of the work that they're doing. And then we're going to discuss some future environmental justice and sustainability research efforts, followed by some questions and answers. So to start off, and then Jen, feel free to stop me if you need to. Start off, we every year NC State participates in a summer undergraduate research experience. Myself from Shaw University, I had the opportunity to participate as a researcher with one of the students at NC State. So students from all over the state come to this research experience to learn about how to serve as an undergraduate researcher. So different faculty members come together to work directly with students just to kind of discuss the research process. And it really helps us build a sense of community within our students. Some of the experiences that the that are enacted with the NC State Summer Undergraduate Research Experience is cultural awareness. You learn about research career paths, specific research projects. Students are able to network. They also receive training in responsible conduct of research. They, of course, perform research, and then at the end, they present a poster about their research experience. This picture here is a student from NC State. We worked together to talk about my textbook that's coming out in the spring. So she was able to work with me to develop some of the chapters in the textbook, and it was a really phenomenal experience that she was able to participate in this.
Yeah, and we even have students beyond the state. We get some from Virginia State University, Tuskegee, Southern University in Baton Rouge, and we have sources of funding from the U.S. Forest Service, from the Health Effects Institute. We've had funding from local businesses and organizations. Some have grants within the NC State or UNC system. So we really are able to get a broad swath of students who come together for this experience, which I think really kind of complements the students' experience to get to know each other.
So some of the aspects of cultural awareness and research that we participated in through our specific project and our trip, students learned about history and community relevant to the U.S. and North Carolina. One of the main trips that students had opportunities to partake in was the historic Stagville, which is a former plantation site, which illustrated the brutality of our nation's history of enslavement. And another trip that was cemented in social relevant research was UCAN, so Urban Community Agronomics. It was part of that site, and it's a working community farm where students saw an example of real world, planting and being able to participate in what's going on within the